Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. My name is Clay Luxon and I'm one of the engineers with the City of Moorhead. This is an informational video for an upcoming street construction project that's proposed to take place in your neighborhood during the summer of 2025. In this video, we'll cover several topics including the city's pavement management program, a description of the proposed work on the project, a funding summary, and ways for you to provide comments. We'll also let you know how to stay up to date as the project progresses. Before we get into the specifics of this project, we want to mention one additional source of information that you might find helpful. The city has a dedicated website that provides information on the city's pavement management program. If you've never heard of a pavement management program, that's okay. This will be a great place for you to check out. In addition to providing background on what the program is, you'll get information on how the city selects projects, work strategies for major projects, and a deeper explanation of funding and assessments, and a lot more. There are great interactive tools that show where projects are located across the city. That includes past projects, current projects, and upcoming projects. You can click on the street lines for additional information. There is another informational video as well. It is a great supplemental source of information to this video. If you go to the city's website and navigate to the engineering page, you'll find the link to the pavement management program story map page here. It's circled in red. If you click on that, you'll arrive at this page, and then you can scroll through that page at your own pace. Now we'll go on through the history of the project area and the existing conditions. So per city records, all roads in the project area were constructed in 1978. The neighborhood was originally part of the county and was later annexed into the city. There really hasn't been any major street construction projects since the original construction, with the exception of minor items such as chip sealing or patching. Notably, there are areas on this road where the pavement is failing, particularly along the edges of the pavement. There are several areas where the pavement is separating from itself and then kind of sloughing or sliding towards the ditch. Regarding drainage, there isn't significant storm sewer infrastructure in this neighborhood. It's a rural section road, so stormwater or rainwater, in general, it drains to the ditches and then to the edges of the project area, and then it makes its way into one of the regional stormwater ponds. Over the years, the city has received reports from residents on poor drainage and standing water in the ditches, and I'll cover this a little bit later in the presentation. The sanitary sewer is PVC and is in good condition. The city periodically televises the sanitary sewer mains and makes repairs when defects are identified. At the present time, no repairs are necessary. The water main is also PVC and in good condition. We're not proposing to do work on either of those utilities under this project. I mentioned previously that the city is aware of poor drainage and standing water in the ditches. We also received a number of complaints over the years about the pavement. So with that in mind, we did want to get residents' input on those items to try to gauge how much of an issue residents thought it was, and then also gauge how much interest, if any, there was in trying to correct it. This was really important to us because if we were to install a lot of new storm sewer, for example, that would have pretty significant costs. And as a result, the residents would have a cost share in the additional work, or the work that was above and beyond what we would typically do on a street improvement project. So it could result in additional costs for residents depending on what we did. So we sent the survey out, which had a couple different pavement options. And the first was to replace the road with almost exactly what was there currently. That was the asphalt or bituminous option. The second pavement option was concrete, and the reason we included that was to try to address the settling along the edges of the pavement. So the concrete option would have had increased costs, and as a result, the homeowner would have had a higher assessment rate. We also included a couple options that would attempt to improve drainage as well as an option to make no improvements. So out of the 43 properties, we got 20 responses, which is actually really good, and the results were very clear. The unanimous pavement choice was bituminous or asphalt pavement. And for the storm sewer option, 75% of residents preferred that we make no improvements, and 25% of respondents preferred making minor improvements. With the results of the survey in mind, we decided to proceed with the project with doing bituminous pavement and without adding any new storm sewer infrastructure. We will replace the entire pavement section and the base material beneath. This will also be a good time for us to try to regrade some of the side slopes from the road down to the ditch bottom and make those a little flatter where we can. There will also be some places where we will fill in low spots in the ditches so that they don't hold as much water, but that would be the extent of our proposed work in the ditch bottoms. On this slide, we've got some generic project information. The anticipated start date for this project would be sometime in May or June. It's a large enough project that I'd expect the contractor to want to get an early start, but it will be dependent on the contractor's schedule, and it will be weather dependent as well. The final completion date for the project is estimated to be near the end of September. That doesn't necessarily mean that the entire project area will be in a state of construction from May to the end of September, and it's not a guarantee that all the work will be completed by then. It just means that the contractor has that window of time to complete the project, and if they do not complete it by that date, the city may consider applying financial penalties. The project will also be completed in phases, and each phase has a specific amount of time allotted for construction. During construction, there will be times when residents will not have access to their driveway and will need to park vehicles on nearby streets that are not under construction. When this becomes necessary, you'll be notified several days in advance, and access will change throughout the project depending on the scope of work in your area and what stage of the project is happening. So if you have questions about the access, please contact one of our staff. Our field staff during construction will be the best source of information for you on this topic. If you need any special considerations for access, please contact us as soon as possible so that we can do our best to provide accommodations. So, for example, this might include a resident who uses a wheelchair or residents who frequently make use of the FM Ride Source program. Please feel free to speak to us about your situation and we'll do our best to accommodate you. We will notify the police department that we have construction in the area, so they should not be ticketing if you're parked on a side street. If you do get a ticket, you can contact me and we'll work to get it resolved. Garbage and recycling pickup will happen more or less like normal. If the trucks cannot get through to pick up containers, we ask that you just bring your containers to the end of the driveway like normal, and then the contractor will round them up and bring them to a common location to be collected, and after collection they'll be returned to you. And if that becomes necessary, we'll just ask you to put your name and house number somewhere on the container so that we can get it back to the right spot. On to assessments. In the original survey letter, there were anticipated assessments for each of the pavement options and then also for the additional storm sewer add-ons. Since that survey was sent out, the city adopted a new rural reconstruction rate, which, good news, is less than the rate that was stated in the survey for the bituminous pavement. So in the survey, it was $85 a front foot for bituminous pavement. The new rate, the rate that'll be used in the project, is actually $65 a front foot. Assessments on this project are expected to generate approximately $491,000 using the front footage assessments. And the front footage assessment, it depends on the scope of work and the type of project we're doing. Like I mentioned before, for this project, it's $65 a front foot. The rate is applied to the front footage of the property. Generally speaking, on a square or rectangular property, that's measured as the width of the property abutting the street. We've estimated that the project will cost approximately $1.5 million, and that includes all costs associated with construction, contingencies, and fees. The funding for this project comes from two sources: special assessments and a city cost share. Special assessments on this project will consist of front footage assessments only, and that's expected to generate, like I said before, $491,000. The remaining, about $1 million, will be funded as a city cost share, and that's paid through the general property taxes. If you have general questions about the project, please feel free to reach out to the city engineering contact that's listed below for this project. That's me. If you have questions about construction access or schedule or scope of work, please reach out. I'd be happy to speak with you by phone or come out and meet on site. Lastly, please let us know if you have a sump pump line or an irrigation line in the boulevard. Often we only find out about these after we've dug them up. If you have one, we can mark it and do our best to try to avoid it, but you may be required to relocate it. If you're interested in receiving periodic email updates about the project prior to construction and then during construction, you can go to the city's website and click on notifications. There is a spot where you can fill in some contact information and select this project and submit it to be placed on a list. And then when we send out updates, you'll receive those emails. Lastly, if you have questions specifically related to special assessments, please feel free to reach out to the city's Special Assessment Coordinator, Amy Seifert. If you have questions about rates or amounts and how that whole process works, she is the one that you're going to want to speak with. And if you made it this far in the presentation, just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for your time. And again, please feel free to reach out with any questions.